Right, okay. We are live. Good evening, everybody who's not watching us. And how are we all? Tonight we are supposed... Oh, tonight is number 30 of the new show. It's the 30th episode of this new show with Mr. Wayne there. So, how's that? Tonight we're going to finish off the E's, because remember, E's are good. So... But first, we are... Remember, Ebenezer good? Good God. First... Yeah, bugger off. But first, we are going to talk about some little sweeties, aren't we? Tic Tacs!
Indeedy.
So, basically, long story short, I found this interesting article about, you remember the Tic Tac UFOs that have come out? Because Wayne knows all about it, I've shared it with him and he's looked into it as well. The Russians have apparently unveiled a new, I don't know what you'd call it.
Vehicle.
New type of vehicle. They haven't revealed what the propulsion is, what it's made out of, or anything. But they are they've applied for all the patents and this, that, and the other, and the copyrights, and they're just waiting for those to come. And apparently, this thing has been unveiled at some show last year or early this year. They're no more helpful on the facts than that. But it was interesting watch, and Wayne has found some other stuff, and we were just talking about that. Funny enough, and then I was like, "Oh, let's start the show." So we're talking about Tic Tac UFOs that don't come from alien tech, or does it?
Supposedly.
Good to you.
Right. Well, these are very bizarre vehicles that the Russians are claiming. I think it was in an expo in Dubai.
Yeah.
Were claiming that they were going to be putting the patent in, and hopefully should be released by next year. And let's get this right. Here we go. The supposed prototype, which is just a model of the craft. However, people are alleging that is the vehicle that has been seen by various air forces around the world. It has no known workable parts.
Yeah.
It has no wings.
No propellers.
And obviously, not having any workable parts, there will be no propellers, there'll be no ailerons, there'll be no tail fins. So the question is where has this technology come from? Because any vehicle that we have will have some form of workable part, i.e. a propulsion system and a means of direction. This vehicle doesn't have any. It just turns in different directions. It's not designed for long distance.
They said 156 kilometers on one charge.
On one charge. So you would have to go 156 kilometers and then stop to charge it, same as any normal electric car.
But does that mean it's an electrostatic motor, or does it mean that we're talking in the realms of Star Wars and TIE engines, twin ion engines or something? It's bloody zip, I tell you. Again,
this is where the strangeness about the technology is coming from, and that they've put a patent in for it. So if a patent has been put in, then that means it is something that has not been released ever before.
Yeah.
They're claiming that it's using a technology that hasn't been known before, hence the patent.
And they're not releasing any details to anybody whatsoever until these patents are out. So you've literally got this expo that this thing was seen at. The few people who've seen it, oh, he's gone. Oh, you got little old me. Do you see this? Do you see this? This is what wearing bloody face masks all the time does it. Yeah. Oh, he's back. Hang on. There he is. He's back again.
Sorry, one of my friends just tried video calling me, and the link dropped.
Where were we? Expo. And I don't mean do it on camera now, please. We don't want to see that.
So I mean, in this expo, they showed you the images of the vehicle and the drawings And they didn't really go into too much detail because obviously they don't want to give anything away as to how they've managed to do it. But on a bit of digging, back in 2004, and this has been a well-documented case in the United States, it was a Tic Tac, is how they've described it, was seen off the Californian coast in 2004.
Oh, is this a USS Nimitz?
Yeah, the USS Nimitz incident, where the aircraft was sent up to intercept the vehicles, and they actually managed to film it. And the maneuvers it was making.
Do me a favor. Just when Helen comes out, just say, when Ellen comes out, just say, we all heard you fart really loudly and it was on camera. All right.
Carry on.
So yeah, the maneuvers that it made, which was caught on film, like it diving into the ocean, speeding up and slowing down. They are saying that to perform that sort of maneuver, the human body would not be able to withstand the G-forces that would be put onto the body. There was no way the human body would be able to cope with the G-forces involved. But they are now saying that there is a patent with the American Patent Office, which was put in 2016, and that was in regards to an outer shell of the craft be turned into a cavity wall filled with gas, which would then vibrate thanks to microwave emitters. And the description was then taken from a patent that the US Navy applied for in 2016, which says such a peculiar craft could move with great ease through the air, space, or water by being enclosed in a vacuum plasma bubble or sheath.
That's right. And they're also thinking of using that as shielding.
Yeah. So, by the way, where'd you break wind? Mike's idea.
Sorry.
They just dropped you in it. So that it's quite possible that the Russians have got the same idea as the Americans. And I'm starting to see, obviously, with the two different articles that I've looked at, I'm sort of seeing it now that it could possibly be the fact that this is a technology Cold War between America and Russia.
It certainly looks like it, but my thing is, where's the technology come from?
Exactly.
Is this a Tesla thing that's been rediscovered from the missing cases? Because he had 22 missing trunks of experimental data, and all his experiments that suddenly vanished.
Yep. I mean, you look at, the Tesla coil and things like that. I mean, to use the energy from the ground and send it elsewhere. And
it works. They've tested the theory, and they made their own scale model of it and did it wider and wider and wider, and it works.
There is a guy on TikTok. I can't remember his name now. He's Dr. Something. And he seems, his experiments are a bit weird, and it just appears a bit backward. But he's got his own Tesla coil in his back garden.
Yeah.
And he's got it connected to a swimming pool. And it's full of water. And he touches all the coils. And he doesn't get electrocuted. Yet he's got it running. You can see the power running through this Tesla coil. And yet he knows exactly what he's doing based on what the original
Nikola Tesla
massive thing that was built. So I think, there are a lot of patents here that are being put in. Like you say, Tesla had a load of his patents were disposed of.
It does seem very strange if you follow Tesla, because I think Tesla was, I think he was much maligned, and I think he was way in advance of his time.
Well, didn't they say the likes of Edison got all his ideas from people like Tesla and just stole them?
That's right. Well, like I say, he had, when the FBI, because the FBI were, I think, 3 doors down from his hotel room when he died. They knew he was dying. They were waiting for him to die, and they were waiting to get in there and get into his safe.
Yeah.
When they went in there and did this, that, and the other, all the stuff that they've got 2 lists. They got the list of everything that was in there, and then they've got a list of everything that left there. And there's I think it's 22 missing trunks.
There is quite a few bits missing.
Yeah, which and they're not little trunks; they're big, like army trunks. You know.
But they're big travel ones.
That's right, and it's all got his experimental data in it.
So you can imagine how much data is in each trunk.
Yeah.
And who's to say that? I mean, I know a lot of people say that Area 51 is related to alien technology and the recovery of alien aircraft. But could this be an experimental base where they've taken Tesla's experiments and Tesla's data, and they've been working on those experiments at Area 51?
Well, he reckoned Tesla, didn't he? He reckoned that he was in touch with beings from other planets because of all the stuff he knew and all the beam technology he had and everything. He was in touch with I'm going to say it, aliens.
But it's, you know, Area 51. There's no reason as to why that could not be a possibility. Push aside the alien side of things. Because if there's all this secrecy about Tesla's experimental data and everything else going missing, you would want to keep that secrecy going. So by hiding what Area 51 is all about, even if you falsify information and put it out there that they are dealing with alien technology, that allows them to carry on with what they're really doing.
See, I think, and I think we've mentioned this before on a previous show, I reckon that possibly at the beginning, Area 51 did have crash UFOs there, but now that's all been moved to that other place that's just over, I'll say just over the hill, but you know, the other one.
A few miles down the road.
But that's the one that no one looks at, and because everyone's focused on Area 51. So why not? Yeah, we may have something, we may not, whilst all that's going on over there, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, for this Tic Tac business, you know, it's the original film footage that was shown, you know, it was 40 foot long, which seems to be quite a bit bigger than this Russian version.
Well, that Russian one's just meant to be for basically a bus, an air bus, if you will, and just a bus. Passenger craft.
I mean, and the thing is, this is fully autonomous as well. So, but this American version seems to have sort of beat the Russians in getting the patent. Because obviously when they put the patent in, they have to check to make sure that technology hasn't been patented before. So there's a lot of work involved to make sure that with it, all the countries of the world haven't got a patent in like that. So it would appear that if the Americans have put in a patent for something similar, and they were actually test flying this back in 2004, maybe they were actually the so-called UFO sightings, or UAPs, we should be calling them now, shouldn't we? Not UFOs anymore, it's a UAP. You know, maybe then that you've got a 12-year gap there, and in them 12 years, could they have been perfecting the technology that they've produced to make these Tic Tac aircraft, and then all of a sudden gone, right, let's put the patent in?
It does seem after you looking into that and that thing coming up, and after reading everything, it does all kind of make sense. But
the thing is, what's annoying me more than anything is after looking at the original article, that goes on about the expo in Dubai, and the Russians are going to unveil it next year.
That's right. Yeah,
I tried looking for information and I couldn't find any.
It does seem like it's just going boom. It was out there, and somebody's gone, and then stopped it.
There's only that one article that I can find. I've put in Russian Tic Tac vehicle, Russian space age vehicle. I've tried different searches for that one thing, and I cannot find it anywhere. And it's only that one that I've been able to find. And it wasn't until I sort of took a step back on the search and put in Russian Tic Tac aircraft that it came up with another one regards to the original sighting back in 2004. You know, and the video would explain it. You know, a jet fighter pilot actually catches it on video and chases after it, and it ends up going into the sea and disappearing. You know, but according to the actual what hasn't been shown was the fact that they said there was a fleet of them. It wasn't just one. There was a fleet of these Tic Tacs. And they said, you know, the actual video footage wasn't meant to be released.
There's actually, talking of UFOs and stuff, there's actually been a big thing in the UFO community. January and the beginning of this month, there's been an absolute flurry of sightings. I think 21 sightings in the first week of February alone. But of the videos I've seen, I can honestly say that some of you out there need to try better. Because but there are a couple that have made me go, you know, because there's one of them is brought out by a Mexican company, and every time I see those ones, it's just like, no, just senor, say no. But there's one just by some dude. He's always looking at the moon. He's got a high-powered telescope that points at the moon, and there's a series of UFOs. You can see them coming over, and the shadow on the moon, and it was just that. I was like, oh, you can see these things, and they've left a shadow on the moon, and that's the one that got me going. You know?
Yeah, but when I seen that video, because they go from right to left, don't they? They come over the right horizon and they come over.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether they were satellites taking pictures of the moon.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Why not? Look what Elon Musk is doing. He's putting thousands of satellites up there so everybody can get free Wi-Fi.
Oh, and SpaceX has what were they doing? They were doing something last week, and there was a load of UFOs suddenly went boom. I was watching what they were doing, and there's pictures taken of it and everything, which is again very interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it could quite possibly be that they put some satellites up there to go around the moon to take pictures of it, so that they can analyze the surface of the moon to see where would be the best place for a new lunar landing.
Possibly.
To see where they could put a lunar base.
But also, do you think, now this is going into the realms of fantasy now. So you've got all this stuff going on, possible anti-grav engines, ion engines, whatever. Exactly, young man. And then you've got all this other stuff going on. Do you reckon we're entering into the age? It's in Star Trek, isn't it? Where other planets go, oh, hang on.
See, I mean, when you term it going into the realms of fantasy, you've got to remember that splitting the atom was a realm of fiction and fantasy. No one ever thought that would happen, and it did.
Do you know what I mean? I can't remember what they call it when they go along and they say, "Hey, we're here, guys. We've been watching you. You've got the technology now. We would like to invite you. And we'd like to say we're here." You know, I can't remember what the. You know what I mean? And you lot out there watching, you know what it is as well.
It's basically the next step of evolution. We're going to get to enlightenment, a stage of enlightenment where the human race will not progress any further without any help. And therefore the technology becomes available somehow.
I think that's happening.
Yeah. To allow us to progress to the next stage. And I've watched over the last week or so, I've been watching a couple of various documents about the possibility of something from another solar system, another galaxy, another dimension.
They think keeps coming back every now and again, don't they?
And obviously they have stated, even a Catholic priest has admitted in his own words, well, I say in his own words, it was through an interpreter because he couldn't speak English, but but he actually stated in his own
Is that
words
alien? Yeah.
that Aliano,
Aliano. Is it me, Mario? Yeah.
that if you've got aliens coming to Earth, which have been documented in all sorts of civilizations that predate Christ,
Yeah, and down throughout the centuries and before BC.
if we are now, obviously, him being a Catholic priest and the Catholic faith believe that God created everything, who's to say that somewhere else in the galaxy he didn't create something else?
Well, the new Pope, isn't it? The new Pope has turned round and said, yes, there is life on other planets. We must respect them. They must have their own gods, or is it the same God? And he's turned round to it to the people and said, yeah, there's other life out there. Stop being so.
You know, I mean, if God is the be all and end all of everything, he could have said, you know, I've done that one now, so I'll set that one off on its course and let it run its way. I'll go and start something off over there now.
Well, there's all tales about the Anunnaki as well. And they're supposed to have gone, right, okay, we're done there. They can look after the planet. We'll bugger off for a few millennia and then come back to see how they're doing.
Yeah. And it's quite possible that once we've got to enlightenment, then something else will happen. And it may be like, again, it seems like fiction, but there's no reason why it can't be factual.
It just
will happen.
It just seems the last year, you know, it's pants, and then it's come to this year, and now all of a sudden, for some reason, just the last few weeks, things are gone.
Yeah, but you get things like, obviously, you have the United Nations or League of Nations as it was previously. So it seems to me that everything's heading towards that Star Trek sort of theory, where you have an Earth Federation. Yeah. Where eventually it will get to a stage. But again, another film I watched earlier on today completely messed up. And it was an actual a British film, and it looked like it had that Nick from Coronation Street in it, and it had Toya Wilcox in it as well. So that was pretty cool. But it was him and 3 others got abducted by an alien spaceship, got taken to the mothership. And then it was all related around how the fact that each country now is starting to have digs at each other. Yeah. And it was the United States against some other country, and the other country turned around and said, we're not having this, so we're going to bomb you. And they did. They blew up New York. And these aliens then sent loads of ships down to take all the innocent people onto this mothership and find them another planet to live on. Because of what we're doing to each other.
Do you know, that'd be so cool? Because at the end of the day, whoever's looking down, and if this is being monitored by them up there, there are the vast majority of us down here don't agree with what's going on. We don't agree with all the pollution and the let's ignore the wildlife for money. You know that certain governments do. Backhanders, you know. I
mean, I had my daughter in tears the other day because we were talking about plants and what their role is, and I tried to explain to her that without plants we'd all be dead.
Yeah. Look at the Amazon forest.
Oxygen has got to come from somewhere, and if we don't have oxygen from trees, grasses, and different plants and seaweeds and plants in the sea and everything else, where would our oxygen come from? And then you get like the vegans that turn around and say, stop slaughtering cows for your beef burgers. Well, I'm sorry, but if you stop slaughtering cows for beef burgers, you're going to have to cull them eventually anyway, because they're the third main producer of methane.
That's right. The trouble is,
you would have to cull them anyway.
My thing is, it doesn't matter how good your government is. Most governments are corrupt. Or if the government itself isn't corrupt, it's got a few members who are corrupt. Not going to mention what governments, what people, but it's all to do with the almighty dollar. And until that is got rid of, you're never going to have things as they should be. It's always going to be, if I give you this, you do it. Yeah, all right, mate, no problem. You know? And it's in every country, including our own.
Again, it's also religion, isn't it?
Religion.
You know, it's one religion says, well, you shouldn't be doing this, and another religion says this, and then all of a sudden you get these little factions that turn up and go, well, actually, it's this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think while there is an argument about religion, money, and land, we're on a downward spiral. And if there is anything out there watching us and saying, you know, oh, look at this lot, a bunch of idiots, look what they're doing.
Yeah, my big invisible sky god is better and bigger than your big invisible sky god. And at the end of the day, if you're spiritual, I think that's a good thing. I'm not religious in particularly, but I am spiritual. But the whole reason I'm not religious is because I've read too many different religious texts about their big events, and all their big events all happen on the same timeline. We've spoken about it before. I think it's all the same being or beings. They just appear to different countries in a guise that they would understand.
Yeah, and I can never understand why that one religion will have a dig at another religion, and they stand there and go, oh no, because there's only one true God and all this, that, and the other. And then another person will turn around and go, well, hang on a minute, this religion was around so many hundreds of years before yours.
Monotheism came out way after everybody else.
Religion? And I'm just like, yeah, just get on with it.
It's like when you look at it all, I think that the Greek, the Roman, the Viking, and the Celtic gods, all the same amount, all the same number, all had the same jobs. Oh, hello. You know? I think there was a Parthenon of beings. I don't know where they came from, whatever. But I reckon that at some point in time, there were precursors. I don't know. There were some sort of beings that helped us and then went, right, you're on your own now and buggered off.
Yeah, and I think if you look at like again with the Aborigines, so the Incas, and the early Egyptians,
yeah,
you know, they've all got scriptures there that show strange aircraft.
Yep.
People wearing what appear to be spacesuits or odd-shaped spacesuits with a strange head covering. Yeah, you know, they've all got these things, and it all revolves around one thing, and they're all saying the same thing, that there is something else out there. But for some unknown reason, there was this big blackout where if you say anything about these sorts of beings, you're a lunatic, and you need to be put inside a lunatic asylum. So the fear of God was put into people, and yet when you've got respectful people that work for, i.e. the church, the police, the military, various high up organisations, even in Wayne, that are coming forward and saying, I've seen this and I've seen that. You know, are you going to turn round to a police commissioner or a general of an army or an air force and say, you're nuts, we're putting you in a mental institution?
Well, the thing that I'm really excited about now is it's only been the last year or so, you've got the likes of heads of various parts of the military in various countries coming forward. And I don't mean the little guy, I mean the head guy coming forward and saying, yeah, there's this, we've seen it. These things have shot at us. We've interacted with them. These things are here. We were told to cover it up. We're not going to bloody cover it up anymore. And more credible and high up people are coming out saying, yes, this is true. This is happening. And now the Pope turning around and saying, yeah, there's aliens, aliens. Yeah, there's aliens. Get used to it and start to learn to accept your brother from another planet, let alone mother. Then I don't see why the hell, after all of this, you've got that little tiny bit of Bible Belt in America that goes, God damn, diddly dong dong dang, banjos are a twanging. Nope, there's no such things as aliens. There's only my true God did that. When you've got their boss, the Pope, going, no, there's aliens. Why don't the rest of the governments of the world, not the ones who've said, yeah, there are aliens, but the rest of the governments of the world, like our government, North America, etc., turn around and just admit it and go, yeah, all right, they've been working with us, they've been helping us, they've been giving us a little bit of tech, there's some stuff that we can't tell you about, but yeah, they're here and they're from this planet there and that planet there. And the majority of us would go, all right, we knew it.
They're probably just waiting to the point where we've forgotten about things that happened in the past, and then they'll go, here you go, and then we'll be like, oh my God, there is, you know. It's like anybody that witnessed Roswell If they were still alive when they released that, they'd have turned around and said, "I've been saying to you since the 50s that has been going on. You've been lying to us all this time."
Do you reckon
So,
it'll be in my lifetime?
like you've said before, I think it will, because
I think it will. Yeah.
like you said on previous episodes, that they're bringing it into us gradually to a point where you can't sidestep it anymore. You can't
I think
hide
it's
behind.
to that point now.
You can't sit there and hide behind a tree anymore. It's getting to a stage where now with the media side of things is so easily to access now.
It's easy to manipulate. Mainstream media is very easy to manipulate.
I mean, see it all the time when you look on paranormal pages and someone goes, "Oh, my friend took this picture," and you've got the girl from The Ring pops up in her white nightie with a long black hair, and you're like, "Yeah, whatever, scroll on."
Yeah.
You know, you again with that sort of thing, you will always get the idiots that will go, "Oh yeah, well done, blah blah blah," and all this,
Well, you
and
know
start
yourself,
having a go at them for faking the photo. But then when you actually do get something that you can't explain, and I've had the same thing. I took a picture at the chapel in Alton Towers, and I had this really strange light. It come down from the church roof in the chapel, and it must be 80, 90 foot high. It literally came from the very top, came right the way down in front of me, and stopped about 5 foot off the ground, just above a chair. So I took a picture of it. Now, it was there for about 2 minutes, and I was just changing the phone around to the video so I could record it, and it went. Yeah, I've had it examined by Kodak and Fujifilm, and they've both said that that was definitely there. And yet people have said, "Nah, that's a speaker in the background." Well, no, but there was no speakers in there. It was just tables and chairs. But you can clearly see it's right above it. You know, so you will get people that will ridicule you for your opinion. And if you say, "Oh, well, I've seen a UFO," then, you know, you can't ridicule someone for saying they've seen it, because at the end of the day, it's an unidentified flying object. Not necessarily saying it was aliens. You couldn't identify it, so it doesn't mean it's alien aircraft.
I think the majority of us have, at some point in their time in our lives, seen a UFO. I know I have on a number of occasions, and it's not because I'm a believer, and it's not because I think we've been visited for thousands of years. It's because I've been with groups of people, and we've all gone, "What the flying is that?" You know, and we've all seen it. And I do think we've got to the point now. All countries, well, the majority of countries are starting to go, "Yeah, there's aliens here. Our military have been involved with them. They've had them shadowing them. They've maneuvers with them, etc., etc., etc." I think it has got to the point now where enough's enough, and they just need to say, "Okay," because
there was a high-ranking flight officer in the Brazilian Air Force.
He wants to come forward as well.
Apparently, he'd seen quite a lot of UFOs over his time in service.
Yeah.
And to start off with, the Brazilian government had told him he had to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
But then the Brazilian government did a U-turn and said, "Talk about it if you like."
And what I've noticed all the South American countries do.
Yeah, they've sort of, I don't know whether it's they've looked at it and gone, "Well, okay, if he comes forward and says, 'Well, I've seen this,' people are just going to go, 'Ha ha ha, you muppet,' and just ignore it." Or are they turning around and saying, "You know, let's be honest, there is something going on. There are things visiting this planet. We should be honest about it."
What I've seen so far in a lot of the things I watch, both mainstream and completely not mainstream, it does seem to me that they're not hiding anything. They're not holding anything back. They're going, and it's because it's very matter of fact. Even the Italian Special Forces, it was their version of the Navy SEALs. One of their commanders came forward with some photos and said, "This was taken, the damage done to a helicopter by whatever the heck it was. It was some sort of pulse weapon hit it, and there was no smoke down." And he showed it on. And he was very yeah, this happened. Here's the helicopter. Here's what the thing was, and this happened. And people are like, whoa, and more and more are coming to light now.
I just wonder whether it was the fact that they were sort of trying to hold back on the information. It's like we've said before, if the information was released straight away, do you panic entire nations or in the entire world, thinking there are little green men out there that could be dangerous to us, or they could be kind to us, and want to share their technologies, or do they want to blow us out of existence?
I think there's both, because all the stuff that we've done in the past, that you've got the good, the bad, and the indifferent. There always is, And at the moment, I'm hoping that it's the good who go, we'll help you with this. Cure for cancer would be quite.
Oh yeah, good. I mean, it's that Star Trek theory, isn't it? If we get to a stage where I don't think we're quite at that stage yet, because we're still trying to perfect getting into space. And I think once we've perfected getting into space and being able to go from point A to point B at the smallest cost necessary, and the quickest time possible, then maybe we may see that sort of communication with other beings. I just think the human race hasn't quite got the technology yet, and if this Tic Tac business is authentic and it's real, then next year we could be looking at this strange vehicle coming out that is fully autonomous, that has no moving parts, that's going to be cost efficient. I mean, solar panels now are becoming easier to install. They're cheaper to run. They generate more electricity than they used to 10, 20 years ago. So you could literally just do your journey, come home and charge it.
Well, they've invented,
it's ready the following day.
They've invented the ion engine. There's a patent coming for it, but the trouble is, it's so bloody massive at the moment. They've got to try and get it shrunk down. But they've invented.
It's compacting it.
Sorry,
it's compacting it. You got to be able to compact it so it's a smaller size.
Yeah.
And again, that relies on the technology.
Yeah.
It's the same as like with the theory of traveling at the speed of light. For a while, we were all looking at, you couldn't travel any faster than 50 miles per hour.
Hang on. We were just talking about that, and then you froze and looked like you were in either mid-sneeze or mid-fart. I froze, and then it went, pack it in. We're trying to stick up for you guys.
When we first started flying, it was like, oh, you can't go any faster than 50 miles an hour. When we started driving cars, it was couldn't go no faster than 5 miles an hour. You had to have someone standing in front of you with a red flag. So with the advancement of technology, you're pushing the boundaries further and further each time. Once we get into space, we've got to learn to be able to get from A to B as quick as possible. And obviously, you had the speed of sound. So you can go so fast, like the SR-71 Blackbird, top speed, something like 2,110 miles per hour. That's fast. So the next step from there is actually being able to get to the speed of light. Well, to be able to go at the speed of light, you've got to weigh zero. You can't have any mass whatsoever. So you've got to be able to have that vehicle weigh zero. But then to go with that, you need to have the propulsion system that will be able to get you to that speed in the first place.
But there's two things with that. You're in space, so there's no gravity, so you weigh zero. But that new, we were just talking about that
the ion engine.
Well, no, not that coating that they've invented, that electrostatic coating.
Yeah. That
they think is why a UFO can go poof and turn into a USO. That technology could be put on some sort of craft. Once they've got a suitable engine, it's going to be, for want of a better word, weightless, and it'll be completely frictionless.
Problem is your contents.
Well, cover them all in butter and throw them to the lesbians. I don't know, but they should do it.
You'll have your seats all strapped in, and you'll have your people going through the seats and coming out the other side.
But I do think because they've invented the iron engine, just got to make it smaller, and because they've now invented this, they've called it a stealth blanketing, I think it was, but you could use it on all craft to make it frictionless. The fact that they've got these two technologies, there's no way you're telling me that they've got that and they've got that, but they haven't got the rest, or at least some of the rest.
I don't know. I mean, when you look at how far human beings have advanced in technology, you know, you got this gap where nothing was going on. Then all of a sudden, boom, there was this sudden surge of different technologies coming out, different products coming out. And then all of a sudden, it sort of flattened out a bit.
That's right. And now it's starting again.
You know, the last major thing that was sort of released that made a difference to the whole world were mobile phones.
I would have said microwave ovens.
But you look at mobile phone.
Yeah.
The biggest thing in the 80s was the mobile phone, and it was the size of a breeze block.
That's right. 82 or 84, the first one done.
Something like that. And I can remember my dad having the Motorola one, and it was
I had the Motorola City Man, and it was like that.
Battery was massive, and it was like a suitcase carried with him. But now look, they're in watches. You know, within the space of 40 years, we've gone something the size of a breeze block down to something that's a little disc on your arm.
Everything's gone to Tracy, and everything you see in Star Trek
is sort of appearing.
Yeah.
You know, touchscreen tablets and things like that. And the technology is advancing, but it seems to be advancing at a slower rate than what it did.
Thank you, Helen.
40 years ago. And I think we're going to get to a stage now where someone's going to develop something that is going to make a huge difference all around.
Do you know, my brain's just been going into overdrive. Do you know what I reckon might be around the corner? And it's just from things I've seen looking in the places that I look. Perpetual motion energy.
Yeah.
It's looking like there's something on the card, not 0 point, but perpetual motion. There's something I've seen that looks like that might be on the cards.
The thing is that it's like a lot of these companies now, these development companies, they are now having to be pushed into thinking of new technologies.
Yeah.
Because with that new legislation or whatever it was that the UN and everybody else has decided to sign up to, where they try and phase out diesel and petrol.
That's right. Yeah.
By 2030, which there's going to be a lot of problems with a lot of people, because if that's not available anymore, it's going to be a lot of people that can't afford to go out and buy a battery operated car. So it's got to be affordable.
Do you remember?
I couldn't go out. I wouldn't be able to go out in 10 years' time or 9 years' time and go out and buy an electric car.
No.
Couldn't afford it.
Do you remember back along petrol cars? I'm sure they used to have a thing called an alternator. Didn't that used to charge the battery?
Yep.
Why can't you make something?
I said this for ages. You used to get push bikes with a dynamo on.
That's right. Yeah.
And there is no reason why that dynamo and a small alternator on a push bike, which could recharge a battery behind a light.
Yeah.
You know, why isn't that system in a car? Well, they are developing cars that have got an alternator in, which helps keep the car charged. Yeah. But it doesn't keep that car charged permanently.
So then work on the alternator and make it strong enough to power the whole car.
They then need to work on the alternator and the battery itself to hold the charge, because I think that was the biggest issue, was the alternator that they were fitting was helping to charge the battery, but once the battery had got that charge, it couldn't keep hold of it after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, they can only go for a few thousand charges, isn't it? And then you have to have a new battery. Yeah. But they're working on new technology for those.
Yeah. So these companies are now being pushed into thinking of new technologies, because otherwise everybody it's going to come to a halt for everybody. Because, like I say, I can't afford to go out and buy an electric car because of how much they cost.
Oh, yeah, electric bikes, right?
Yep.
In London, I've seen one. I've had to go on one. I have to say, I'm a biker, that whew, some of these new bikes, and the weird thing is, you don't hear them. You just hear like a weird hum. That's it.
They're supposed to be passing a legislation now that all electric vehicles have got to have a sound on them so that you can hear them coming.
I know the bikes that I've had to go on, you couldn't hear me. It was just like a weird hum.
I almost got run over by an Amazon van yesterday because I saw it, but I didn't hear it.
Like the Priuses when they first start up on their, and you don't hear them.
And this was a bloody great big Mercedes Transit. It was massive. And I saw it, but I could not hear it. I'm like, whoa. And I was just about to step into the road when I looked and gone, okay, green cross code. Stop, look and listen. Sniff paint. And I looked and saw it coming. And I'm like, Jesus H, where did that come from? It made me jump. But it's because that vehicle, and again, this is where the technology has come into play, because that van has got to go out all day on deliveries.
Yeah.
So obviously it's got a decent sized battery and it has a decent charge or a decent charge rate for that to be fully charged by the following day for his next day's worth of parcel delivery.
Well, look at the eco buses. I, as you know, I'm a frontline worker and I do kids runs for special needs children. And I go into Leeds every day. And they've got these big green buses. They're the size of single decker buses, and they're completely all electric, run off their own battery, and they do it all day. So if they got the technology for the buses, why can't they have it in the cars?
Exactly. But then what they're trying to do is drain the economy of petrol and diesel first. But again, they're not telling the truth about that, because it turns out that there are other oil fields out there that haven't been tapped yet.
Well, can you stop dragging your boobs at me? Sorry. What mess is she standing there? She's going, I'm a milkshake, bring the boys to the yard. You can bugger off and trying to do a show.
But it's because of the environmental damage that's been caused.
Damage for my boobs in a minute. Yeah.
They've said that we've got to put a stop to it. But then what they've done is they've allowed all these big companies to have the technology. And yet the small people like you and I, we couldn't afford to go out and get an electric car just like that. It'd be nice to be able to.
Yeah.
But they're not allowing the decent technology to be available. And I think all that will take is just for one small moment, and that technology is going to be as clear as a bell, and it will be affordable.
I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, that we're going to see all the things, because I've just seen the time when we just literally had this one thing that I sent to you this afternoon, and we just gone, I think it's going to be very soon, within the next few years, that we're going to start to see perpetual motion, aliens, and all this stuff. I think you're right. We're on the cusp of not an industrial revolution, but a technological revolution that's going to A, make things a hell of a lot better for humans, B, hopefully get rid of a lot of the pollution in the air, because that's what it needs to save a lot of things. We need to start saving rainforests and stuff like that. Stop worrying about whether you're gay, bi, a hammock, or whatever the hell you are.
Or a toaster.
It, you know? It's true.
Yeah, it is. We're spending too much time now bickering about what type of people we are.
Yeah, about nothing.
You know, and at the end of the day, we're human beings. It don't matter whether we're straight, bi, gay, toaster, bit of this and a bit of that, and bit on the side or whatever. We're human beings, regardless.
We all bleed. If you cut us, we all bleed the same, regardless of your colour, your sexuality, anything. Well,
I don't know. I wonder if I bleed. I think I am an alien. See, Ellen agrees with me. But I will go back on this and say that there was a clinician, a top clinician in America, had stated common things are common. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it most probably is a duck.
I'm going to do a very quick experiment whilst you're here, right? Hold your hands up, both of them. Right, you're a human being, yeah?
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
I'm different to you. I'm still a human being. And
Exactly.
then one of my best friends in London, he is, and he'll say it himself, he is blacker than the ace of spades. He's a human being too. One of my friends is gay. Human being too. All these ones that are coming out saying that they're this and they're that and they're the other and they should be treated differently. No, you shouldn't. Why should you be treated differently? You all bleed, you all walk and talk, and you'll hurt just the same as I do and the same as Wayne does. Why should you be treated differently from the rest of us? It's not fair to the rest of the world. And that goes for every single squabble and pettiness that's going on with, I'm not a man, I'm not a boy, where do I pee? Bollocks, mate, you're a human. Stop being so pretty, stop being so silly. Grow up. Oh, you got big, your big boy pants up, and it's time
You don't know where to pee. Just go into a toilet. It don't matter.
We need to start looking after us as a species and the planet, and think about the bigger and better things that are coming. Not about all these silliness. It's not worth it.
Yeah, we're spending too much time worrying about petty things than worrying about the bigger picture. We're too busy worrying about whether we're upsetting a certain type of people, and yet things like the Amazon rainforest, which is providing so much of our oxygen, is being destroyed
because of corrupt governments. Yeah.
So we're wasting our time watching our P's and Q's with certain people, and yet football pitches worth of forests are being bulldozed down.
Yeah.
And for what?
Just for making a few quid.
For society to progress, they will say. But
we need to start worrying about ourselves.
You can't progress if you destroy the very things that make you live in the first place.
Exactly. Worry about ourselves as a whole, not each individual case.
It'd be like if I decided I was going to eat nothing but fish for the rest of my life, and then we fish the oceans dry.
Then I would call you a lesbian and say, hey ho, but
I'd be knackered because I wouldn't be able to eat fish anymore.
You wouldn't be a lesbian anymore.
Not that I'd want to. So, we've got to look at the bigger picture, and I think people as a whole have got to sort of get out of this silly playground antics.
Yeah, it's a certain generation. It's only one generation that's going, I'm offended by this. I'm offended. Grow the fuck up. Sorry, this is me saying to you guys out there, that generation, grow the fuck up. Everybody else had to get on with it.
You see it time and time again on Facebook. Oh, when I was a child, I was able to go out and do this. Yeah. When I was a child, I was able to go out and do that. I could do this, could do those, and we could get this and we could get that. Nowadays, kids can't do that.
No.
I mean, my mum used to turn around to me and I'd say to me, Mum, I'm going to go and play out the front. Okay. Yeah. I'll call you in for your tea.
That's it.
You'd go out the front, you'd be playing football, you'd go manhunt or Kirby's or whatever you'd like, and your mum would call you in for tea. I don't let my kids play out the front now. I'd rather they go out and play in the back garden because I'm not too sure what's going to happen to them out the front there.
Yeah, and it's the way the world's turned, I'm afraid. But you know, Taylor, we were talking about this, and she's very level-headed, and even she turned around and said she's one of the only ones of her generation who doesn't think they're privileged, doesn't think they're entitled, and doesn't get offended by breathing at them, And she's right. It's got to that point where certain people, certain generation, think that they're entitled and privileged above everybody else.
It's like Ellen. Ellen wants to go back to work.
Yeah.
And I've turned around to her and said, you want to go back to work, you go back to work. You want to go back to college and learn a trade or something. And I was very similar. I from junior school, I always wanted to go into the Royal Air Force. That was my be all and end all. Come to leaving secondary school, I'm like, right, my plan to join the Royal Air Force starts now. Then I realised I couldn't join because I was still 15.
Oh, you lived at 15 as well?
So rather than sitting on my backside for a year, I went and got a job at Colchester Zoo.
I thought I recognised you.
I cleaned out animal shit for a year. It was a job. I was getting paid for doing it. And then when time came for me to go into the RAF, it was goodbye Colchester Zoo. Hello, Royal Air Force. When I was made redundant from the Royal Air Force, I did all sorts of jobs. I was doing.
And now you're going back in again.
Fruit picking. I was doing loft insulation. I ended up training as a chef and doing cooking in various restaurants and pubs. I did whatever job I had to do to make money to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And that is half of the problem with society today is they will stand there and they'll go, well, I'm not going to be a toilet cleaner. That's below me. Well, hang on a minute. It's you now we've got the minimum wage rule in. You're going to be paid a decent wage no matter how low it is. It can only go below a certain point, can only get to a certain point.
Well, the thing is, and I think you'll agree with me on this, because I think you brought up the same as me. My mum always brought me up, it doesn't matter if somebody's gay, straight, bi, a sandwich maker, black, white, Chinese, Hispanic, Middle East. It doesn't matter what you are or who you are. If you are my friend, that's all that matters. And I've got so many friends who are different colours, different races, different sexes. Oh, look at me. I've got one hand and one leg. It doesn't make me any different from anybody else, apart from that looks different, and that's it.
Yeah, I think the only time that I can remember, and I get reminded of it every once in a while when my mum meets new friends of mine, was when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And we were walking down the local high street to Colchester, a place called Wivenhoe. And as we were walking down the road, there was this old guy walking up the other side of the road. And he'd got, I don't know, like a melanoma on his nose. His nose was gone sort of bright purple and was really disfigured. And apparently I pointed out that this bloke had a really wonky, weird purple nose. And my mum felt really embarrassed because I made that comment. And I got a wallop for it. Because as far as my mum was concerned, that was really rude and horrible. But the old guy turned around and he said, that's okay, don't worry about it, I get it all the time. And
I do about my hand.
After about 6 months, my mum we'd be walking down the road towards the shop again, and we'd see this old guy, and we'd end up talking to him. And he actually became a good friend of the family through talking to him. And I think that is the only time whenever I've been really disrespectful to someone that's got an issue or a medical problem or is different to everybody else.
Do you know?
And all the rest of that time, I've never bothered, because so what if they're a dwarf or they're bisexual, transsexual, or a toaster or whatever? I couldn't care less, you know. As long as they don't cause me any harm, that's all I'm interested in.
Well, the thing
so
is,
I can be friends with anybody.
Yeah, snap! You've just proved it. Kids stare at my hand all the time, and I'm like, and if they come over and ask me, I'll tell them exactly what happened, how it happened, this and the other. But the thing I find the rudest people towards myself, I mean, I don't think I'm disabled. People say, yeah, you're disabled. No, I don't think I am. It's people my age who sit and stare. Yeah. And, you know, and in the end, if they don't say anything and they just sit there and stare, I end up losing my rag. And mine's that way. Do you want a fucking picture, you know? Yeah. And it's that. Kids, they will just come out with it. And it's that innocence that I like. It's like, yeah, of course, mate, I'll tell you what happened. But when you know...
They don't realise so much, do they? I mean, it was like when I met you for the first time, because I'm right-handed, I automatically put my right hand out.
Yeah.
And then I quickly swapped them over, because as soon as you put your hand out, I'm like, shit. And you went, no, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't the fact that I'm like, oh my God, his hand's deformed. Oh shit, look at that. Oh no. And then realised it was just because I'm right-handed, That was the first thing I did was put my right hand out.
I was a chronic masturbator as a kid. That's one like that.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
things like it's things like the BLM thing as well. You know, I got a great friend. I say a great friend. He was a friend of my dad's, but we all got to know him, and I'm still friends with him on Facebook. And I think he came from Jamaica with his parents, and the camaraderie between him, my dad, and another friend of theirs, they were called the Three Amigos. And he would walk in through the door and he'd go, "All right, honkies." Right.
Right, I'll let you into a little secret.
So my dad's friend would go, "All right, nigga." Now, I hate that word.
Yeah,
But-
I don't use that word.
They would say that word, and it would literally be harmless banter, which he would accept,
Yeah.
and he
Now-
would give it back. And he would say things like, "Oh, I've been out in the bus too long today. I've got a sunburn. Look at me."
See, that's like my mate Hendrik. When he's big and he looks just like Ving Rhames. And I used to sit next to him, and I made a point of, "Fucking hell, you give me black looks, mate. My name's Mark," and he was like, and everybody's and we just hit it off. And he'd call me Phil Collins, and I'd turn around and say, "I'm a Sparta," and he'd be like, and I'm like, "Do you know you're black?" And he'd go, "What are you on about?" And it was just it was purely banter. There's nothing
Yeah, I know.
malice with it, you know.
I mean,
Nothing.
they worked on the buses, and I'd finish school and go into town to meet my mum, who worked in the bus company's canteen, and I'd be sitting in there and I'd hear them say this, and I'd go, "They can't say that," and my mum would like, "But they do, because it's the three of them, and you know they've turned a lot of heads." A lot of the other drivers in the canteen have gone, "Oh my God," and he just said the N word. Well, he's just called him a coon and all this. And I'm like,
see, I never use those.
and my mum's like, they accept it and they give it as good as they take. And he laughs about being black anyway, so he's not bothered.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of like, "Oh, right, okay." But there's no way on this earth I would have ever said anything like that. And I've got quite a few black friends.
No,
I certainly wouldn't walk up to them and say things that they were saying, you know. But the problem is now there's too much of this. "Oh, well, you know, I don't want to say this because I'm going to upset them." And then you've got the other side of the coin saying, "Well, if you say that, I'm going to go for you."
Well, it's like I was born in Hong Kong. I'm half Irish, quarter Scottish, quarter Australian, and I've got three nationalities because I'm British, Chinese, and Irish, and I can have all three passports. Thank you, darling. Yeah, I'm a hybrid. And Hendrik used to rip the mick out of me like about that. "Oh my God, mate, it's a Ching Chong Phil Collins," and I'm like, "How can you say? How can you say that? All I can see is a pair of eyes and maybe I have some teeth now and again, you know." And it's just banter. Anybody else said it to us and be like, "Who the you know?"
Yeah,
But-
exactly. And it's passers-by as well. Passers-by as well. If they hear that banter as they're passing by,
Yeah.
they get offended and they go, "Oh, no, you can't say things like that." We're like, "Well, hang on a minute. You don't know us. You don't know the situation between us. So therefore, you have no right to explain it in such a way to us, because we're two friends having a bit of fun with each other." And that, I think, is part of the problem with all of this business with, like, not just BLM, but all the other things that are going on, is that too many people are easily offended.
And that's what the whole thing about this last bit of the show was, everyone gets all this certain generation gets offended over, excuse my language, fuck all. Grow the fuck up and realize there's a lot more in the world than just you and your petty little things you've been offended about. We've got to think about looking after the planet. We've got to think about getting to the stars, you know, and stuff like that. We've got to think about advancements in medicine. I've had cancer 7 times, 7 operations, 2 lots of chemo. I'm still here, and I'm still going, I'll keep fighting, etc., etc., etc. So your petty little thing that you're offended about, to the majority of us, we don't care about, because we've got our own shit going on. Think about us as a whole, start looking after each other.
Also, if you think about it, we've had the millennials, right? Now, before that, it was the suing generation.
Yeah.
You know, from the 80s up until the millennials came along, it was, oh, you do that and I'm going to sue you.
Yeah, and
And
that's
it was sue,
America for that
sue
one.
for this, sue for that, sue for this. Oh, you've said I've got a third eye in the back of my head. Well, I'm objecting to that, so I'm going to sue you for that.
Here's one for you. Mavis, you bastard, I want to word with you. What? You said my husband's got a wart on the end of his cock. No, I didn't say that. I said it feels like he's got a wart on the end of his cock.
So, you know, we've seemed to have you had like the hippie generation, you know, the free spirit, free love generation, and all of this, and then all of a sudden you get the well, I'm going to sue you because you said I've got this on the back of my head, and now you've got the millennials. Now you're going to get to another stage. You know, the millennials have been taken over by these. I'm offended.
I know, and it's just stupidity. Look at that woman. Right, I'm not going to say her name. There's that woman who decided Gorilla Glue should be used to set her hair. You know it. I put it up on my Facebook.
Ellen's standing and pissing herself laughing.
And she's there going, do you know what? I think I'm going to sue them. And it's like, why the fuck would you sue them when it's called glue? Gorilla Glue.
Exactly.
Mix shit together.
I want to know what the hell she thought of putting Gorilla Glue in her hair.
Although I can see there being a mix-up because there is a hairspray called Got to Be Glued.
Got to be glued, not Gorilla Glue. You know,
I will do my manscaping with seafood Gorilla Tape. See if I can not rip my landing gear off.
well, actually, I was thinking of going sunbathing with some vegetable oil.
Good luck.
Does that mean if I was to go to or get myself a sunbed and co-op sunflower oil instead of proper suntan oil,
I think you might cook a bit.
smear it all over, and then sue the arse off the co-op because I got myself badly burnt by their sunflower oil? Do I reckon I'll get away with that?
Isn't it? It comes down to common sense.
Exactly.
What's missing from a lot of people these days?
I mean, she's standing there saying she's going to sue because she put Gorilla Glue in her hair. What was she doing putting glue in her hair?
Oh,
You know,
sorry, but I've got no hair because I shave it off. But fuck me, I ain't going to use. Super glue was invented originally to stick your skin together. They still use it in hospitals now.
apparently she did another video about putting shampoo in her hair as well. And
What an idiot! Sorry.
I want to know why they called it shampoo. Now, I'm starting to think if she's done a video where she put shampoo in her hair,
I should be following a chihuahua and going, gimme!
yeah, exactly. I'm getting worried. She's gone along the street and she's seen a dog poo and gone, oh, I'm going to clean my hair today.
Gorilla Glue as hair.
And again, this is the problem with society is this woman's put Gorilla Glue in her hair, gone, and then,
And people have gone, oh my God, you should sue. Oh, I'm so offended that you're. Why are you offended that she glued her own fucking head to it?
yeah.
You know?
It doesn't take much to read a book, you know. I mean, you look at anything, you know. I mean, I was like, here we are. Mentos gum. Yeah, I'm not going to use it as polyfiller, am I? No, exactly. So
I mean, at the
when
end of
you
the day,
pick
she burnt her head, and I feel sorry for her burning herself, but it's your own fault, love. You got
Exactly.
Gorilla Glue, which even the adverts say it sticks metal and wood and shit like that. It doesn't say it sticks hair or sets your boof on. It says it sticks fucking metal.
I think what gives the game away is glue.
Well, it's the fact that she's like, oh, I can't believe it did it to me. I'm going to sue. But they didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself.
I think in a court of law, if I was the defence barrister, she turned around and the judge would turn around and say, so why are you bringing this case to us today? And she'll say, well, because I put Gorilla Glue in my hair and I got my hand stuck to my head. Now, being the defence barrister, being the defence barrister, I would turn around and go, case closed. It proves our product works.
On that note, I don't think there's anybody else we haven't possibly offended tonight. A job done. Next week we might finish off the E's. I have no idea. We
may even start the E's.
Yeah, fuck it. But tonight I really enjoyed that show. And if we find out any more about the Tic Tacs or any new technology that comes out, because we look every week, and if anything else comes out, hopefully you'll hear it first on here.
I'll certainly have a peruse.
So I enjoyed tonight. I would like to say thank you for listening, everybody, and everybody who's watching us on YouTube and listening to us there. Thank you. It means a lot. So I should say goodbye from me,
and it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Oh, I think we might have offended someone because that's been used before.
Remember, kids, just because it says shampoo, don't go and wash your head in your in your chihuahua's doings. Bye.